don't know if you have carried out a research as to why Nigeria is where it is now in terms of employment. Data has shown that a lot of companies have left the country, even to neighboring countries. Some have even repatriated their funds away with them.
Thank you very much. One of the main reasons why we have depreciated economically from the 80s till now is the persistent issue of insecurity. And when you have insecurity, like the issue of Boko Haram, that they went around bombing places, bombing the United Nations building, kidnapping girls, this sends the wrong signal abroad. Now, people that want to come to invest in Nigeria through foreign direct investment, this scares them. You notice that the period of the Boko Haram and insecurity, Fulani herdsmen, and what have you, all those IPOB, all this constituted to scaring away investors. Because if you want to invest, if people want to put their money, they want to put their money where there's a guaranteed return of their money. They want to put their money where there is no issue of war. Now, when there's issue of insecurity, Boko Haram, IPOB, and what have you, all this constitute insecurity, and investors would not want to put their money here because they are afraid of the future. They believe there will be anarchy in the future. And this is the reason why you notice that investors go to neighboring countries where there's stability. I've had an investor that wanted to come and invest in Nigeria in terms of agricultural investment, to invest in farms and, be producing things that they can send abroad through export. And Nigeria, they initially wanted to come and invest in Nigeria, and they didn't do that. They moved their investment to abroad, to Ghana. And we are losing a lot of investment because of this, because of insecurity. And in the past, we've had issues of military dictatorship, even though that has stopped now. When I was growing up in the 80s, we had Bata, we had Leventis, we have Peugeot. Volkswagen, in 1970, Volkswagen was even commissioned here by the then President Gowon, was commissioned in Lagos. This contributed to creating jobs for Nigerians. My uncle worked with Peugeot. And this is what we had before. Nigeria in the 80s was more industrious than the Nigeria now. We had 101 textile industries. We had the Arewa textiles, we had a lot of textiles. You remember the Arewa textiles in Kaduna? But today, all these companies don't exist anymore. Because first of all, there's insecurity. Secondly, we are not protecting our infant industries. And what do I mean by that? The Chinese are bringing in textiles from China and selling it very cheaply to Nigerian local businessmen. In some cases, they give it to them on credit, sell and pay us back later. Now, if you bring textiles from China and you're selling it to Nigerian businessmen cheaply, cheaper than local production, then there is no incentive for our local industries to remain in production. That's why they close down, because the Chinese, the foreign textile is cheaper. Now, most of our children wear, the uniform that they wear are Chinese, are foreign textiles. There is no incentive for them to produce Nigerian industries, local industries. There's no incentive. And in most countries, why you see there's a trade war between China and Nigeria, right, and the United States right now, is because they are trying to protect their own infant industries. There are policies that have been put in place that if you work in government, in the 80s, when you work in the government, you have to drive made in Nigerian cars, Peugeot, 504, 505, that the government made it mandatory. Even during the military era, the official cars of the military people were 504, 505, Peugeot. Commissioners of states, government officials all had this. This was a policy mandated in the 80s, and this helped because we had the Peugeot assembly plant in Kaduna. This helped to create jobs because local demand fueled production. But this is not what is happening in Nigeria right now. The House of Assembly members drive Toyotas. Do we have any Toyota plant in Nigeria? The House of Assembly members drive Mercedes. Do we have any Mercedes plant in Nigeria? We are carrying the jobs that are meant for Nigerians, and we're taking it to Japan and helping the economy by buying made in Japanese cars, or made in America cars, or made in Germany cars. Whereas we have Innocent Motors. Innocent Motors is there. We should, as a matter of principle and policy, make it mandatory for any government official to buy Innocent Motors as the official car in order to fuel demand and create the jobs that we are looking for. They say charity begins at home. We need to embed these policies in our daily living. That is what helps to create jobs. That is what helps to drive infant industries. That is what helps to bring about development in a country. You must support production in your country. We're a consuming economy. We consume everything, including sugar. We import sugar. Our food import bill is $5 billion. Sugar, we import sugar. Burkina Faso produces 46% of the sugar they consume. So does Benin. So does Senegal. Nigeria, we produce 2% of the sugar we consume. That means all the sugar we consume is gotten from abroad. And anything you buy from abroad, you are carrying jobs and our money and our investments abroad. A population of over 200 million people, we are buying even milk, fish, we buy it from abroad. We are starving our country of the needed development. This is what is causing these problems.
Even the made in Nigeria rice is far, far, far expensive. It has not really drive because before the discouragement of importation of rice was even way cheaper. Look at the example of rice now. Before government stepped in, it was not this bad. But when the government stepped in, it skyrocketed. So how do you convince Nigeria? Is it that the government did not get it right? Or is it that, I don't want to believe that Nigerians were not supportive. Because most Nigerians now, in fact, how many people have the money to buy the foreign rice? But I didn't think the foreign rice is cheaper. Of course they would have gone for it. So is there a problem with the business environment aside the insecurity that is not making even the startups in Nigeria to try?
Very good question. Now, you see that before, foreign rice was Nigeria was the second largest importer of rice in the world. We were second to the European Union. Before the policies of this current administration came in that restricted the importation of rice, and as you said, the Anchor Borrowers program started supporting local production of rice. Now, what is not happening is that the customs are failing to do their duties. If you are producing rice in Nigeria and people are exporting rice, you have to put an import duty of over 100% on imported goods. If you are importing rice into this country, they must put an import duty on top of it. In effect, that makes imported rice more expensive than local produced rice, giving our infant and local industries an edge. Because when local rice is cheaper, then a lot of people will not want to go and buy foreign rice. You notice when Nigerian companies started production of rice, there were stones in the last 5 years. Now, there are no stones. They are competing favorably with foreign rice. So, we need to get the policy right. The only reason why foreign rice is still on the same, possibly the same amount with Nigerian rice is because we're not getting the policies right. I was impressed when I saw the rice pyramid just on the outskirts Airport Road. The current administration, they put rice pyramid there. I can attest that Nigerians are producing rice. We are actually producing. But are we competitive is the question. That's where the customs come in. The customs have to do their duty. You cannot let people smuggle rice into Nigeria. That will interfere with local producers. And that would outcompete them because the rice, there's no quota on it. They'll go and smuggle it from another country, from Ghana, cheaply, and they'll be selling it very cheaply. So this is where the customs have to come into effect, like they did in the 80s. We have to bring out policies to support our infant industries, and also policies like like what is happening in between America and China. You have to impose import duties and quotas on foreign rice. If, as a matter of fact, you should ban foreign importation of rice. We don't have any business having foreign rice in Nigeria because our local rice are producing already. They taste almost exactly as foreign rice. I tell you, back in the days, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, when we were importing rice, we were making Thailand rich. Thailand was making so much money and creating jobs. But ever since that has stopped, Thailand is complaining and even begging Nigeria that we should import rice. So, we need to get the policies right. A journey of 1,000 miles, you can't get it right in one day. You have to keep fine-tuning it until we get it right. We have fine-tuned it so much that we don't have stones in Nigerian rice. So we just need to fine-tune it more so that all we see in the Nigerian market now is Nigerian rice. And no more foreign rice, because Nigerian rice, Nigerian mills are doing a great job as foreign rice. And in that way, we create jobs for Nigerian farmers. We create jobs for Nigerians. And we hold back the money that we are supposed to take abroad, which would improve our balance of payment. This is what we want. And if we're able to do that, we can move it to the other areas, like textiles, for example. We move it to other areas, like sugar. We start our own production of sugar. Nigeria is a very industrial, agricultural country. Benue, if you eat food and throw it at the back of your garden, it germinates and grows. You don't find that in foreign countries. We are really, really blessed. We just need to tap into these resources and make use of them. Thank you very much.
It seems Nigerians are always at the receiving end of government policies. Receiving end in terms of, and I think Nigerians have been so patient with government a lot, because I was at one of the rice producers meeting, and they have their lamentations too. They were like,
what are those?
Yeah, part of which is the business. Let's take because I asked that, why is it that we have Nigerian rice is this expensive? And one of the reasons they say that the cost of production is very high here. Part of which is power. Part of it is even the importation of the equipment that is required.
There are goods that we should be able to import, because using the concept of comparative cost advantage, there are things that other countries are good in, like machineries. We are not exactly very good in, so we should be able to bring in those, especially if they're going to help in production. I believe was a policy that the Nexim Bank allowed people that bring some certain machineries to not pay import duties as long as they follow a particular procedure. I don't know why that policy has changed, but I believe we're entering into a new administration, and I believe this current administration, this new coming administration is more exposed into bringing policies that would encourage production. From antecedents, what I've seen so far, I look at the concept of what they've done in Lagos. Lagos has grown itself. Lagos has grown its IGR. Lagos is actually the best state in Nigeria in terms of infrastructural development and a lot of other things. That's why I'm looking at Lagos. And the new administration coming in, their history is based in Lagos. So I'm looking at how they've been able to develop Lagos, reclaim the land, building Eco-Atlantic City, bringing in the metro rail, and a lot of policies. And they've also encouraged investors to come into Lagos to invest. ShopRite, for example, started from Lagos. The Palm Cinema started from Lagos. I was in Lagos as a banker then, years ago, when my bank financed the first Palm in Lekki. That was as a result of these policies that was introduced in Lagos. So I believe the new administration coming will come with a bit of fresh air and different ways of doing things. And I believe they would encourage investments. And they'll bring in policies that would encourage production. Because if you want to encourage production, you have to be able to allow Nigerians to import these plants, machineries, without charging them import duties. You really need to understand the effects of it. If you don't understand it, then you can't do it. And I believe this will bring a bit of fresh air, this new administration coming, and that would help production. Because if you understand that, okay, once these people bring in their machineries at a cheaper rate, that will lead to a reduction in the cost of production. And the issue of power too, I've been privy to come across some policies that they are trying to do, and I believe they are also going to look at alternative sources of power, because it's a shame Nigeria at this stage we're still producing 5,000 megawatts, 6,000 megawatts, and the whole world has gone and advanced. Even Dangote that started yesterday, in comparison to Nigeria, Dangote is producing, I think, 2,000 to 3,000 megawatts in his refinery. I've heard stories of that. Why then is the whole Nigeria producing 5,000 megawatts? There's a problem. Clearly, somebody's not been seeing the vision of a better country. I believe, and I'm hoping, the new administration coming in will bring a bit of fresh air in terms of power. And once there's constant power, the cost of production reduces. The cost of a lot of things reduce. Drive down inflation, and businessmen will be able to smile and sell things cheaper. That's what we're looking for. That's the environment we're looking for.
Finally, if you're going to suggest to the government policies that needs to be put in place to ensure that these things are done, what kind of policies are you expecting this administration to put in place?
Import substitution, industrialization, ISI. Everything that we import, let's begin to produce them. That is the principle of import substitution, industrialization. Anything we are importing, let's begin the production. Sugar, let's begin the production. Milk, let's begin the production. Meat, let's begin the production. Anything at all we are importing. Cars, let's begin the production. Machineries, let's even begin the production. Shoes, let's begin the production. Let's encourage made in Nigerian products. Once you start that policy, which is the policy that was used in Chile, a policy that is being used by America, Japan, then you will come to realize that Nigeria will begin to produce and eat our own products, and then we begin to increase our GDP, create employment. How do you think Hyundai started? Hyundai started in South Korea back in those days, and they were producing and servicing, during the China War, they were helping and servicing cars like mechanics. And then the government started supporting them. That's how Hyundai that we use started in South Korea, and they became a household name. So did Toyota. So we need to protect our own local industries. Import substitution industrialization. Let's ban the importation of textiles. Why are we importing the clothes of our children from abroad? Why are we doing that when we can produce? What happened to the Arewa textiles? We're supposed to be moving up, not backward. We had Arewa Textiles. We had 101 textiles companies in Nigeria that created jobs. You can imagine how many jobs 101 company that can create. My uncles, my family members worked in those companies. Today, we don't even have any because the Chinese are now dumping their textiles in Nigeria. The customs have failed to do their job. What is the customs doing? What are they doing? Are they sleeping? They need to wake up. Somebody is not doing their job, and that's why we are facing these problems. So the institutions of government need to wake up and do their jobs. And if we don't have this synchronization of different institutions and agencies of government doing their job, then it's going to be a failure. And that's why today China is growing, because they protect themselves. You can't go to China and produce made in Nigeria things in China. The government and the institutions will not allow it. So we should empower institutions in this country rather than empowering individuals. We should not have big men, we should have big companies. And as such, the policies of Nigerians will be protected. Thank you very much.
It's continuous.
Yeah, that's fine.